example, where the IEBC, led by the chairman of Chebukati, are right now making their submissions to the Joint Parliamentary Committee on the electoral law changes. Let's listen in.
On the qualifications of the chairperson, Section 6, which is Clause 4 of the proposed bill. On the issue of the chairperson, shall be a person who is qualified to hold office of the judge of the Supreme Court under the Constitution. The position of the Commission is that this amendment requiring that a chairperson need not be a person who is qualified for the office of a judge of the Supreme Court. And the position of the Commission is that we maintain the qualifications of the chairperson as set out in the current law. However, the provisions of 1A and 1B should be seen within the context of Article 259, 3B of the Constitution, which makes provision for acting chairperson in the absence of a chair.
Can you expound on that?
Yes, what we are saying is that the Article 138 of the Constitution, 138.10, gives the responsibility of announcing presidential results or declaring to the chairperson of the Commission. As provided in the Constitution, save for the case of the Chief Justice, Article 141, it's very clear that the Chief Justice or the Deputy Chief Justice can swear in the President. And if you go to 134, Article 134, it says clearly the President, and in his absence, the Deputy President. So for us, we look at it, the way forward would be that amending Article 138 would require a constitutional amendment on, as provided for by the law, and that in the meantime, what would be done is if the chairperson is absent for any reason, then the Commission will have an acting chair who is vice chair or another person, and then Article 259 kicks in, which provides that an acting chair can actually perform the functions of the chair. That is the position of the Commission.
Proceed.
Could I ask Vice Chair to take up Clause 4?
Clause 4, process of conduct of Commission meetings. That's second schedule. The current position, paragraph 5, the quorum for business at a meeting of the Commission shall be at the least 5 members of the Commission. And then that says, paragraph 5, the proposed, deleting the words 5 members of the Commission and replacing them with half of the existing members of the Commission, provided that the quorum shall not be less than 3 members. The proposal affects the quorum of the Commission, plenary to make decision. And then we have para 7. The current position is unless a unanimous decision is reached, a decision on any matter, before the Commission shall be by concurrence of a majority of all the members. The proposal we have is, it also reiterates mandatory voting in the procedure of making decisions where there is no unanimous decision. And then B is substituting paragraph 7, unless a unanimous decision is reached, a decision on any matter before the Commission shall be by a majority of the members present and voting. as I said, what we're proposing is, it also reiterates, sorry I said that, then paragraph 5, our remark is retain the quorum at 5 members. And then we amend paragraph 7 to read, unless a unanimous decision is made, sorry, decision is reached, a decision on any matter before the commission shall be by concurrence of a simple majority of all the members. That's where we
So what does that mean?
What that means is that in order to enhance majority decision making, our current quorum should remain 5 instead of the proposed 3. And then the decision of the commission shall be at least simple majority of the total numbers of the commission. Present, yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. You want to do number 5.
Then we have number 5, deletion of section 29 of the Act. What provision says that powers to nominate the person who nominate a presidential candidate shall be members of the candidate's political party. 2, it says the person who nominate an independent candidate, presidential candidate, shall not be members of any party. According to the Act number 47 of 2012, section, and Act number 48 of 2012. Our remarks is delete. Then the section was declared unconstitutional in Peter Gashira versus IEBC. I can't remember which year was that.
This year.
And then the proposal is accepted by IEBC. Thank you.
Number 6.
Thank you very much, Chair. Regarding clause 6, that is, the subject is determination and declaration of election results, section 39. The old provision provides under 1C, I read, for purposes of a presidential election, the Commission shall, A, electronically transmit in the prescribed form the tabulated results of an election for the President from a polling station to the constituency tallying center and to the national tallying center. B, tally and verify the results received at the National Tallying Center. From the Commission's view, our remarks would be that electronically and manually transmit the tabulated results of an election for the President from a polling station to the constituency tallying center, and basically what we are saying that is what the new change here includes, an addition of manually transmit the tabulated results. And the Commission's comments on this is that the proposed amendments seek to provide clarity on which results suffice in cases of discrepancy between the transmitted and manually transmitted results. We believe that this gives credence to the original statutory reforms, which is a positive, which is positive. Just give me a minute, Chair. I think I have an incomplete version. If I can borrow from my colleagues.
6. That's the way, yeah. Okay.
Okay, I have the complete version. I'm sorry, Chair.
Okay.
So basically,
we are now on page 5, is it?
Yes, page 5.
Okay.
So if you allow me, Chair, I'll go back to the remarks section.
Yeah.
So basically
what we would like, Bwana Chairman, is as you take us through, you do some bit of explanation now that members don't have those copies, so that we really understand. So proceed.
So basically, in our view, our reading of that amendment there under clause 6 is that the proposed amendment seeks to provide clarity on which results suffice in cases of discrepancy between the transmitted and manually transmitted results. And in our view, it gives credence to the original statutory reforms. We also notice that that clause deletes the words provisional and replaces it with final results. We also take note that the proposal directs the Commission to provide and establish mechanisms for the live streaming of results as announced at polling stations, which shall not be used as a basis for declaration by the Commission. We also take note that it includes the definition for provisional result to mean electronically transmitted text results. Our experience has shown that human error in data entry is likely to occur when entering text data into the KIMS. In our view, as a Commission, we would suggest to replace the amendment of Section 39(1)(ca) as follows. So this would be the suggestion of the Commission, to replace it with, in quotes, electronically transmit and physically deliver the tabulated results for an election for the President from a polling station to the constituency tallying center and national tallying center. The reason we are substituting manually transmit with physically deliver is we don't have a manual transmission system. The manual transmission system is actually the physical delivery of the results. So we just wanted to put the clarity there that is the physically delivered result. Chair would also like to suggest that we replace, when we amend Section 39(2), we replace it with the following, in quotes, before determining and declaring the final results of an election.
Just before you continue, Commissioner.
Yes,
so
Chair.
in place of manually, as proposed in amendments, you put the word physically deliver.
Yes. And physically deliver,
In place of the word manual.
Manual transmission, yes.
Correct.
Thank you, Chair. Then we also suggest to amend Section 39(2) by replacing it as follows. In quotes, before determining and declaring the final results of an election under Subsection 1, the Commission, and the emphasis here is in, shall have received the physically delivered results in accordance with the Act. So the emphasis that we have placed, or the new words here, is shall have received the physically delivered results in accordance with the Act. And we changed this so that it is consistent with the previous amendment where we have introduced physically deliver, and that is where we have put it there. Then we also suggest to amend Section 39(1)(f) as follows, in quotes, the Commission may establish a mechanism for the electronic display of provisional results, and results so displayed shall be for purposes of public information only and shall not be the basis for a declaration by the Commission. And in that case, what we have made emphasis is on the use of the word may. I think that is all we have, Mr. Chair, as relates to Clause 6. Thank you very much.
Okay, we now proceed to Section 44.
Thank you, Chair.
And I think for the next person, you can improve your presentation slightly. Since members don't have copies, you read what it is as per the proposed amendments, and then
Our remarks.
the fashion of the Commission.
Okay. Okay, we are on page 7, use of technology under Section 44. The current law says, Commission shall, for purpose of this section and in consultation with relevant agencies, institutions, and stakeholders, including political parties, make regulations for implementation of this section, and in particular, regulation providing for the transparent acquisition and disposal of information and communication technology, assets and systems. B, testing and certifying of systems. C, mechanism for the conduct of a system audit. D, data storage and information security. E, data retention and disposal. F, access to electoral system software source code. Then G, capacity building of staff of the commission and relevant stakeholders on use of technology in electoral process. And H, communication network for voter validation and result transmission. Then I, development, publication and implementation of disaster recovery and operations continuity plan. And finally, the operations of technical committee established under subsection 6, notwithstanding provision of 109, 3, and 4. The Commission shall prepare and submit to the Parliament the regulation required made under Section 4 within a period of 30 days from the date of commencement of this section. Technology used for the purpose of first general election.
Can I interrupt, One Commissioner?
Yes.
Let me forward this to my colleagues here to share. We have some few copies.
Yes.
And I think I'm told there's a problem in page what? 7. Page 11. They will explain.
Page?
No. Oh. I'm just telling my members.
Oh.
We will come to that later.
Ah, okay.
So at least we have some few copies now. And members, we are on page 7. We are on page 7 of the. Some of us can share. And one for the legal department. Are we okay, members? Can we proceed? Okay.
So I proceed from where I left?
We are on page 7?
Yes.
Okay.
On page 7, clause 6. Notwithstanding the provision of Section 109, 3, and 4.
I propose now that members have copies.
Yes.
Just again begin afresh at page 7.
Okay.
Kindly.
That's okay, Chair. Page 7, I'm on number 7. Use of technology, Section 44. The Commission shall, for the purpose of this section and in consultation with relevant agencies and institutions and stakeholders, including political parties, make regulation for implementation of this section, and in particular regulations providing for A, the transparent acquisition and disposal of information and communication technology assets and systems, B, testing and certification of systems, C, mechanism for conduct of a system audit, D, data storage, information security, E, data retention and disposal, F, access to electoral system software source code, G, capacity building of staff of the Commission and relevant stakeholders on use of technology in electoral process, H, telecommunication network for voter validation, result transmission. I, development, publication and implementation of disaster recovery and operations continuity plan. And J, the operations of technical committee established under subsection 6, subsection 6. Notwithstanding the provision of 109, 3, and 4, the Commission shall prepare and submit to the Parliament the regulations required made under Section 4 within a period of 30 days from the date of commencement of this section. Then subsection 7, technology used for the purpose of the first general election upon commencement of this section shall A, be restricted to the process of voter registration, identification, for this section shall A, be restricted to the process of voter registration, identification of voters and result transmission, and B, procured at least 120 days before the general election. Section 8. For the purpose of giving effect to this section, the Commission shall establish a technical committee of Commission consisting of such members and officers of the Commission and such other relevant agencies, institutions, or stakeholders as Commission may consider necessary to oversee the adoption of technology in election process and implementation of use of such technology. Act number 36 of 2006, 206, then 17, Act number 1 of 2017, section 18. Now, the proposed amendment, section 5 is deleted and substituted with the following provision. Commission shall, in consultation with relevant agencies, institutions, and stakeholders, make regulation for better carrying into the effect of provision of this section. Section 6, 7, and 8 are deleted.
Through you, Honorable Chair, so it's different from the document we have before us, right?
Yes, page 7.
Sorry?
I'm on page 7.
Yeah, on page 7.
On amendment.
Maybe
what column?
Maybe to make you easy member, there is the first column regarding the section being amended.
Okay,
and
so what is read was on page 8,
so
I've seen.
The third column tells you the contents of the proposed amendments.
Yes, yes. Right? No, it's just that I think what he read was running into page 8, and then it turns out that the amendment is in page 6. So just keep referring us to the pages.
Yeah.
You can keep referring us to the pages, since they are not on the same page.
Sorry. We are now on page 7, on column of proposed amendment, which I have read. Then we go to the next column on the same page. The new proposed, that's our remarks. The new proposed subsection 5 requires the Commission to consult with relevant agencies, institutions, and stakeholders, make regulation for implementation of this section. So that's our version. Then under section 7, the section 7 applies for the first general election where a commission was required to deploy technology which is restricted to the process of voter registration, identification of voters, and result transmission. We are in agreement for section 6 to be repealed. Section 7 could also be spent if one interprets general election to mean election of August 2017. Section 8 was declared unconstitutional in Kenneth Otieno case of 2017. Yeah, that is our proposal, Chair.
What do you mean by no comment on the last column?
We were more or less in agreement, but the issue of the transmission is where we were a bit not very clear on what was proposed. Maybe I will ask our lawyers to shed more light on it.
Yeah, because you've done very well.
And also, Chair, sorry.
In the last second, the column on your comments, which should have been leading you to making a decision.
Yes.
In the last column, but you say no comment.
Chairman, it's also partly because of the fact that the amendment was doing away with political party, which was in the current law, and it's the political parties being one of the key stakeholders. The Commission did not want to be one influencing removal or retention, so we left it to the Parliament to decide.
No, but I think you are consulting shortly with the legal minds. Yeah.
But I think, Honourable Chair, it's. I think you don't have to say no comment. You can say you recommend that we retain it or not retain it. Surely you should have an opinion.
Yeah, as our legal team look at it, I will also say that there are two ways of looking at it. political party can be a standalone constituency that we can consult, or it can be classified under stakeholders. So that distinction can come in law.
I think he's put it correctly now.
Chair, the word stakeholder should suffice. Because if they're your main stakeholder, then stakeholder in relation to you must first mean political parties.
Yes, it can be. Yeah.
But you can add it. I mean, no need to be too finicky on this one. There's no issue.
Okay.
So do we proceed from there? Okay. We now turn to page 8. Actually, we go to page 9 because there's nothing in page 8.
Yeah. I'm also doing number 8. Number 8 is on complementary mechanism for identification of voters, section 44A. Current law, notwithstanding the provision of section 39 and section 44, the Commission shall put in place a complementary mechanism for identification of voters and transmission of election result. That is, now we are turning to page 10. That is simple, accurate, verifiable, secure, accountable, and transparent to ensure that the Commission complies with the provision of Article 38 of the Constitution. And the proposed amendment, notwithstanding the provision of Section 44, the Commission may put in place a complementary mechanism for identification of voters that is simple, accurate, turning to page 10, verifiable, secure, accountable, and transparent to ensure that the Commission complies with provision of Article 38 of the Constitution. Our comment, proposed amendment, not to tie complementary mechanism to Section 39. Then it removes the mandatory requirement to provide for complementary mechanism for, turning to page 10, for transmission of election result. It is a necessary consequence of the amendment of Section 39, which makes the manual form to be the result. Here, our recommendation is we maintain complementary mechanism for result transmission.
So can you explain what that means for a layman?
Yeah, we are thinking...
What are you simply saying?
We are simply saying we maintain complementary mechanism for result transmission, which we defined it in 2 stages. Stage 1 is the law says you transmit from polling station. Where the network is not sufficient, the presiding officer is forced to move with the gadget until he or she finds the network. So that movement, we want it to be defined as under complementary, because it fundamentally changes the requirement that the result is transmitted from polling station. So the moment we move, we want it to be classified as complementary. Then the second bit is where we will physically deliver the form. So for that purpose, the complementary mechanism for the result transmission should remain.
Members, are you clear with that? Okay, just allow members to, because we really want to capture your position. Shole?
Yeah, let me ask the Honourable Commissioner. You've explained clearly what it means that the changes have been made to the Commission shall to the Commission may. Yeah, so it becomes optional and not mandatory. But the place where you've written the proposed amendments do not tie complementary mechanism to Section 39. What does that mean? How? Maybe you can explain that to us, please.
Right, notwithstanding the provisions.
Yeah. Chair.
Honorable Sakaja, Senator Sakaja.
Yeah.
You want us to...
Senators are also honorable. But,
it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah. The earlier provision was given reference to Section 39 as well as Section 44. But the consequence of amending Section 39, where you're talking about physical delivery as opposed to manual transmission, then has that physical delivery not as a complementary system. It's an option that is there where you don't have the network. So I understand the rationale in not having it necessarily tied to what you're calling complementary mechanisms, because now it is expressly provided for. That's my understanding. I could be wrong, but now that you've expressly provided for the physical delivery, then complementary mechanisms are now, talking about registration, talking about identification of voters, that is now simple, accurate, etc., as opposed to also talking about 39.
Honorable Chair, I think I wanted the question to be answered by the commissioners. I know that Honorable Sakaja is trying to help.
He's trying to assist you, to assist him. Okay, Commissioner.
Let them answer.
Proceed with your answer, because it is from the Commission.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think Honorable Sakaja got it right, that because we have already amended Section 39 to include physical delivery. That's why we said it should not, the proposed amendment do not tie complementary mechanism to Section 39. It is already amended to include physical delivery of result. Yeah. Unless our lawyers have...
Shalay, are you okay? Thank you.
Yes. So they just wanted that to have read, and the proposed amendment does not tie the complementary mechanism to Section 39 because it has been now replaced with physical delivery. Okay. The way it would make sense.
Okay.
Yeah, when we'll be writing the report.
Okay. Senator Wamatangi?
Yes, Chair. Probably my question would be on clarification of the distinctiveness, because now it looks like we have now three systems. That one we could define. We have an electronic transmission system. We have now what we've replaced, what we were calling manual. You have replaced it with physical delivery, and now we have included another terminology of complementary. Then the distinctiveness, just in case of probably, a dispute as arose in the last general election, whereby you had a clear distinction of a dispute of electronically transmitted, results. Where do you draw the exact line between when one is talking about a complementary system, the physically one, transmitted one, or rather delivered one is clear, and then the electronical? The distinctiveness of all the three, how or the clarity of it. I think that's what I would want to get more clearer.
In other words, in my view, what he's asking is how do you classify this situation where the presiding officer moves to a
place of network,
a place where there is network available, and transmit results? What do you call that? Is that complementary? It is not physical? What is it?
Yes, Chair. You said that when you're saying that you're now in the stage or mode called complementary, what are you doing? Moving from a place where there's no network to a place where there's network. Is that the stage at which you would be described to be using the complementary? Because the manual, or rather the physical is understood, the electronic is understood. What are you saying?
Chairman, thank you.
Can I propose that he actually deals with this one of...
it's connected.
They are connected.
That's
okay,
why.
Fine.
Yes,
Shamala,
Mr. Commissioner, thank you. As you explained that, would you kindly explain to us, because I don't really understand, what is the difference between manual and physical? And what is the rationale for using physical as opposed to manual transmission?
Thank you, Chair. I think as I earlier commented, we said our complementary, actually maybe, Senator, to clarify for you, complementary is what is not electronic, we call it complementary. So under the section 44A, it says we transmit result. The transmission is supposed to take place from polling station. Once the presiding officer finished tallying, scan the form, transfer the numbers on the form to electronic form, and transmit. Just send like an SMS. Then, where there is sufficient network, it goes electronically, hit National Tallying Center and Constituency Tallying Center. Where there's no sufficient network, just like when you send SMS, it tells you failed transmission, it may fail to go because there's no sufficient network to transmit. So now the officer starts moving. As he or she heads to the National Constituency Tallying Center, they come across a network. I'm sure Waheshimiwa from northern Kenya like me knows. You come across a stray network, then it sends. If it happens to send, it becomes electronically transmitted. But that process of moving with the result when it is still looking for network is still treated as complementary. If he or she reach constituency tallying center when the result is not yet gone, you still, every constituency tallying center has a network. Where there is no sufficient network, we provide for satellite in every constituency tallying center. So here, at that point, it gets bundled to transmit. At the same time, the physical form is physically delivered to the returning officer. That is from A series. For presidential, we call it 34A. For others, different series. So that is how they are distinguished. I don't know whether you're...
Yeah.
I think he has done well. The distinction is clear.
Chair, can I just... I was just going to get his clarity. Yeah. With the permission, Chair.
Camera yangu, this one.
Transmission that will have been defined ultimately as a complementary transmission will have been done electronically. Whether the person moved, but at least they got network, it went electronically. Whether it was via satellite and you bundled, it still went electronically. I mean that's what you're saying in a nutshell.
No, not exactly.
Yeah.
If it is transmitted from polling station, where the voting took place and counting took place, and it is successfully transmitted, that is purely electronic transmission. The moment that failed to happen, and the officers start to move...
Well, if you're just joining us, those are live pictures coming away from County Hall, and that is where some of the IEBC commissioners, led by their chair, Wafula Chebukati, are at this hour, at this moment, making their submissions before the joint parliamentary select committee on electoral laws changes. And what you've just seen there is one of the commissioners, Mulu Boya, making his submission. Earlier on, the IEBC chair himself had made some remarks there. They talked about some of the recommendations or some of the changes there in the proposed amendment bill that are going to interfere with the election laws. Remember, the country is just 20 days away from that much awaited, much anticipated presidential rerun, and the ruling Jubilee Party are being accused by the opposition, Nasser, for changing the rule of the game halfway. Of course, they've been criticized left, right, and center, especially by the opposition outfit, Nasser. Remember that public hearing and